Stranger Things. Season 5 is releasing very soon, and with the trailer already out, there are plenty of fan theories to talk about. Some make sense, others not so much. Today, I will go over the dumbest Stranger Things Season 5 theories, ranking them from dumb to completely ridiculous. Number 1, that Karen Wheeler is actually Alice Creel. When Season 4 character posters dropped, Karen Wheeler's featured the Creel house in the background. Within hours, theories popped up claiming Mike's mother was secretly Alice Creel. Apparently, this was Henry's dead sister who survived the massacre and assumed a new identity. On the surface, fans tried connecting dots that didn't exist. Karen would be roughly the right age. She lives in Hawkins. The poster placement seemed intentional. Theories had some real dumb backstories about how Alice faked her death, underwent plastic surgery, and lived decades without anyone discovering her secret. Some even said Vecna knew his sister was alive and chose to target Hawkins specifically because she lived there. The theory gained momentum fast, spreading across Reddit, Twitter, and YouTube, with thousands claiming the Duffer Brothers were dropping subtle hints, except there weren't hints. There was one promotional poster with a thematic backdrop chosen by Netflix's marketing team, not the show's writers. But here's what exactly happened. During Henry's psychic rampage at the family dinner table, Alice died violently and unmistakably. Her eyes exploded in their sockets, blood streaming down her face. Her limbs snapped and her bones broke totally. She died screaming in agony while her brother watched. The show didn't cut away or leave her fate ambiguous. Cameras lingered on her broken body lying motionless on the floor while police investigated the crime scene. This wasn't a situation where someone could have survived. Alice didn't slip into a coma or get rushed to a hospital with life-threatening injuries. She died instantly from catastrophic trauma that would be medically impossible to survive even with modern technology, let alone 1959 medical care. Her death serves as the origin point for Henry's transformation into Vecna, the moment his humanity shattered completely. Karen Wheeler has been portrayed as a normal suburban mother dealing with normal suburban problems in the last 4 seasons. Making her a massacre survivor with a secret identity would demolish her character and make every previous Karen scene pointless. Why would Alice Creel marry Ted Wheeler? Why stay in Hawkins near the site of her family's murder? Why show zero psychological trauma from watching her mother and herself die at her brother's hands? Number 2, Eddie Munson, returning as Kes. Eddie's death in Season 4 devastated fans everywhere. His guitar solo atop the trailer became an iconic moment in TV history. When Eddie chose to stop running and face the creatures head-on, we had tears rolling. His death in Dustin's arms proved that he wasn't a coward. Fans refused to accept Eddie was gone, so theories started. The most popular focused on Cass, a character from Dungeons & Dragons lore. In the tabletop game, Cass serves as Vecna's vampire lieutenant, eventually betraying his master. Theory noted that Eddie died from demo bat bites, which could transform him into a vampire-like creature. Some had Vecna deliberately turning Eddie into his thrall. Others suggested Eddie would resurrect in the Upside Down, emerging as Cass to help defeat his former killer. The theory got some eyes because Eddie briefly mentioned Cass during the Hellfire Club game, then the Duffer Brothers confirmed Eddie Munson is permanently dead, not coming back, not resurrecting, dead. They stated this in multiple interviews, making their position crystal clear to shut down speculation. Yet theory supporters refused to accept reality, claiming the Duffers were lying to preserve the surprise that denying theories proves they're true. This logic breaks storytelling completely. If creators explicitly saying something won't happen means it definitely will happen, then nothing they say matters and all analysis becomes meaningless. The Duffers had no reason to lie. Eddie's death carried enormous emotional weight precisely because it was permanent and tragic. Bringing him back would cheapen that sacrifice, reduce his heroic moment to a temporary setback, and teach viewers that death means nothing in this universe. Eddie's resurrection makes no sense. His arc was complete. He proved himself a hero and died protecting people he barely knew. What would returning as Ka add to his story? How would transforming into Vecna's vampire servant improve his character? The theory exists solely because fans loved Eddie and wanted more screen time with him, not because resurrection serves the story. Season 4 already established how death works in Stranger Things. Max died and 11 brought her back immediately, but Max remains comatose with her consciousness trapped elsewhere. This demonstrated clear rules. Resurrection is possible under specific circumstances involving Eleven's powers acting instantly. Eddie died in the Upside Down while Eleven was miles away fighting Vecna in California. No one was present to resurrect him. His body was left behind when Dustin escaped through the gate. By the show's own established logic, Eddie is gone. Number 3, Max becoming Vecna's puppet. Lucas must kill her with Max in a coma and her consciousness trapped in Vecna's mind. Dark dark theories emerged about her fate. The bleakest says Max would become a Mind Flayer puppet similar to Billy in Season 3, possessed by supernatural forces and turned against her friends. The theory's darkest version claimed Lucas would be forced to kill Max himself, choosing between saving Hawkins and losing the girl he loves. Theory supporters pointed to precedent. Billy got possessed by the Mind Flayer in Season 3, becoming a thrall who kidnapped and delivered victims to be consumed. His possession showed how Hawkins' residence could be controlled by upside-down forces. If Max's consciousness is trapped with Vecna, theorists argued he could use her body as a vessel while her mind remains imprisoned. Lucas, who spent Season 4 trying to reconnect with Max and save her from Vecna's curse, would face the ultimate test, killing Max's body to free her soul or destroying Vecna's puppet. The theory gained support from Stranger Things' reputation for putting characters through emotional trauma. The show has never shied away from darkness. Will's possession in Season 2 showed how the Mind Flayer could control people. Billy's possession in Season 3 demonstrated possession could turn loved ones into enemies. Max's death and partial resurrection seemed to set up even darker territory. Some theorists claimed the Duffers were building toward their most tragic moment yet, that Season 5 needed a devastating sacrifice to raise stakes beyond anything previous seasons achieved. Except this theory fundamentally misunderstands what Stranger Things actually is. The Duffer Brothers explicitly address theories like this in interviews, stating they're not making Game of Thrones. They specifically said killing main characters just to shock audiences or prove anyone can die isn't their storytelling approach. They find constant death depressing and believe their show works because the viewers trust the core characters will survive even if supporting characters might not. Making Lucas kill Max would violate this fundamental principle, turning Stranger Things into grimdark misery porn that betrays everything the series represents. Season 4 established that Vecna absorbs his victims when he kills them, consuming their consciousness and using their deaths to open gates. Max technically died, Vecna absorbed her, then 11 restarted Max's heart before her brain completely died. This left Max in limbo, her consciousness trapped somewhere between life and death, possibly within Vecna himself. If Max returns to her body, it will likely involve 11 or the group finding a way to free her consciousness from wherever Vecna is holding it. Number at 4. Henry Creel is Eleven's father. Among the wildest theories circulating is the claim that Vecna, formerly Henry Creel, is actually Eleven's biological father. Theory crafters point to Terry Ives' time at Hawkins' lab undergoing MK Ultra experiments while pregnant. Henry Creel was also imprisoned at the lab as test subject 001 during the early 1970s. Both were in their 20s or early 30s. On the surface, the ages align mathematically. Henry Creel was born in 1947, making him about 24 when Eleven was born. Terry Ives was born in 1951, making her about 20 during the MK Ultra experiments. The timeline works if you ignore every other detail about their lives and circumstances, but the theory falls apart under scrutiny. First, Henry Creel was Dr. Brenner's prisoner at Hawkins' lab, not a free participant. He was test subject 01, kept under constant supervision with a power-dampening chip implanted in his neck. Second, Terry Ives' MK Ultra participation was voluntary initially, paid participation in supposedly safe experiments before she learned she was pregnant. She discovered the experiments continued during her pregnancy and tried to stop them, leading to her forced separation from Jane. Third, the theory ignores that Brenner specifically chose children for Project MK Ultra's second phase because he wanted blank slates he could mold from birth. If Henry was Eleven's father, Brenner would know this, and it would undermine the entire program's purpose. Brenner wanted children with no family connections, no outside influences, just pure test subjects. The special connection theorists cite is simply recognition between two powerful psychics, not biological relation. Vecna targets Max, Nancy, Fred, and Patrick without any blood connection to them. His targeting strategy revolves around guilt and trauma, not genetics. If family ties mattered, he would target his father, Victor Creel, who's still alive in a psychiatric hospital. Instead, Vecna ignores Victor completely, showing family means nothing to him. Number 5. The entire show is just a Dungeons & Dragons campaign. Perhaps the most meta theory circulating online suggests the entirety of Stranger Things is actually just an extended Dungeons & Dragons campaign being played by Mike, Dustin, Lucas, and Will. According to this theory, everything viewers have watched for 4 seasons exists only in the imagination of 4 kids sitting around a basement table rolling dice. The Upside Down, 11, the Demogorgons, all fictional creations within their game. The final scene of Season 5 will supposedly reveal the boys packing up their dice and character sheets, with Mike thanking everyone for playing his campaign. Theory supporters point to the show's heavy D&D integration from the pilot episode onward. The very first scene features the boys playing a campaign where Will's character faces a Demogorgon, foreshadowing his real disappearance moments later. Throughout the series, D&D terminology names upside-down creatures and concepts. The kids use D&D strategy to fight real monsters. Mike serves as the group's natural leader, much like a dungeon master guides a campaign. Will the Wise is an actual character, not just a nickname. This theory is terrible for countless reasons, but primarily because it would destroy every emotional investment viewers made across years of watching. Stranger Things isn't an Night Shyamalan movie searching for twist endings that rewrite everything. The show has never presented itself as ambiguous reality versus fantasy. The Upside Down exists in the show's universe as concretely as Hawkins, Indiana itself. Pretending otherwise would constitute the worst kind of storytelling betrayal. When Will went missing in season 1, Joyce found physical evidence of his presence through Christmas lights and wall messages. Police searched for him. His fake body appeared at the quarry. Hopper discovered conspiracy evidence at Hawkins' lab. These events happened in the show's reality, witnessed by adult characters who aren't sitting at a D&D table. Unless the theory suggests Joyce, Hopper, Nancy, Jonathan, Steve, and every adult character are also imaginary constructs within Mike's campaign, the internal logic collapses immediately. Eleven exists as her own person, with her own perspective, memories, and backstory. Viewers witness scenes where Eleven is alone, with no D&D players present to narrate her experience. Her time at Hawkins' lab, her escape, her friendship with Benny, her development of powers. None of this makes sense as Mike's campaign invention. Unless Mike has precognitive abilities to create a character whose history perfectly explains her powers, the theory fails. Even within D&D campaign logic, the theory breaks. Real campaigns don't maintain perfect narrative consistency across hundreds of hours. Players derail storylines, forget details, make mistakes that contradict earlier events. Real campaigns don't have perfectly timed emotional beats or cinematic shot composition. They're improvisational, messy, and collaborative. Stranger Things is too carefully crafted to be improvised gameplay. Number 6. Kali returning. As a secret weapon, Season 2's The Lost Sister remains one of the most controversial episodes in Stranger Things history. The episode follows Eleven's journey to Chicago, where she finds Kaylee, aka 8, another Hawkins lab test subject with psychic abilities. While Eleven can move objects and access minds, Kali creates illusions, making people see whatever she wants them to see. The episode divided fans, with many calling it the worst episode in the series, feeling it disrupted Season 2's momentum and felt tonally out of place. Despite widespread hatred for the episode, theories persist that Kali will return in Season 5 as a crucial ally against Vecna. Theory supporters argue the episode's existence demands payoff, that the Duffers wouldn't waste time introducing a character with powerful abilities unless she'd return to help save Hawkins. Kali's illusion powers could theoretically counter Vecna's mind manipulation, fighting psychic control with psychic deception. The theory assumes the Lost Sister was set up for future storylines rather than what it actually was: character development for Eleven. The episode existed to show Eleven exploring an alternative path, a life built on anger and revenge rather than love and connection. She meets Kaylee, experiences what her life could have been if she'd embraced her rage instead of her humanity, and ultimately chooses to return to Hopper, Mike, and her found family. The episode's purpose was complete when Eleven decided who she wanted to be. From a practical standpoint, Kali lives in Chicago leading a small gang of normal humans. She has no connection to Hawkins, no knowledge of the Upside Down, and no reason to suddenly appear when interdimensional gates open. She doesn't know about Vecna, Demogorgons, or the Mind Flayer. Her entire existence has been urban survival and small-time revenge, not battling apocalyptic threats. Expecting her to somehow learn about Hawkins' situation and decide to help requires massive logical leaps. Kaylee's story is complete. She found her family in her Chicago gang. She developed her powers independent of Hawkins' lab. She offered Eleven an alternative path that Eleven rejected. Her role in the larger story is finished. Bringing her back would be fan service to a minority of viewers who liked The Lost Sister, while irritating the majority who want the final season focused on Hawkins and the characters who've been there from the beginning. Number 7. Will Byers creates monsters to fight Vecna. One of the more stupid theories circulating is that Will Byers will use his connection to the Upside Down to actively create monsters that fight on Hawkins' side. According to this theory, Will taps into his lingering Upside Down connection from his Season 1 abduction and Season 2 possession, manifesting Dungeons & Dragons inspired creatures like dragons to combat Vecna's army. The theory's most ambitious version believes Will discovers he's been unconsciously creating Upside Down creatures all along, that his imagination and trauma literally shaped the dimension. Every monster viewers have seen, Demogorgons, Demodogs, the Mind Flayer itself, originated from Will's psyche during his time trapped in the Upside Down. Season 5 would reveal this truth, showing Will taking conscious control of his creation abilities to manifest helpful creatures. Theory supporters point to Will's artistic nature, his love of drawing, and his role as dungeon master in the group's campaigns. They note how Will drew the Mind Flayer in Season 2 before seeing it, suggesting some psychic connection between his imagination and Upside Down reality. The theory frames Will as having hidden protagonist powers that will finally emerge in the final season. The theory misunderstands Will's character and role in the story. Will isn't a chosen one with hidden powers. He's an ordinary kid who survived extraordinary trauma. His sensitivity, artistic nature, and inability to fit in make him vulnerable, not powerful. Season 2's Possession showed the Mind Flayer using Will as a host precisely because he was powerless to resist, because his prior exposure to the Upside Down left him connected but not protected. Will's drawings in Season 2 came from the Mind Flayer showing him visions while possessing him. The creature was using Will's artistic abilities to communicate and strategize, not the other way around. Will drew what he saw in his possessed visions, images the Mind Flayer wanted him to see. When Joyce and Hopper questioned him about the drawings, Will was terrified and confused, having no control over what he was drawing or why. He was a victim of psychic assault, not a creator manipulating reality. Giving Will sudden creation powers in Season 5 would contradict everything established about how Upside Down abilities work. 11 has telekinesis and remote viewing because Brenner forced those abilities to emerge. Henry had natural psychic abilities that Brenner tried to control and study. Number 8, Vecna will sacrifice himself to save Hawkins. The final theory says Season 5 will end with Vecna, the show's big bad, sacrificing himself to save Hawkins and close the gates to the Upside Down. According to this theory, the Mind Flayer is the true villain controlling Vecna like a puppet. When the group manages to sever the Mind Flayer's control over Henry Creel, he'll regain his humanity and realize the horror of what he's done. Overcome with remorse and desperate to atone, Vecna will use his remaining life force to permanently seal the dimensional rifts, dying a redeemed hero rather than a defeated villain. Theory supporters point to Billy Hargrove's Season 3 sacrifice as precedent for villains finding redemption through death. They argue the Mind Flayer's manipulation excuses Vecna's actions, making him another victim rather than a true antagonist. Some versions suggest Max Mayfield, whose consciousness might be trapped in Vecna's mind, will help him remember his humanity by showing him Eleven's childhood struggles and trauma. As a child in 1959, young Henry tortured animals and psychically murdered his mother and sister because he enjoyed wielding power over life and death. No one controlled him, no external force corrupted him. He was simply a sociopath born with psychic abilities. The idea that seeing Eleven's trauma would make Vecna empathize is particularly absurd given his response to her during their confrontation. He knows Eleven's history, knows Brenner tortured and experimented on her, knows she suffered in the lab just like him. His response wasn't sympathy or connection, it was manipulation. He tried recruiting her by claiming they're the same, that she should embrace her power and join his crusade against humanity. When she refused, he tried to kill her. What would Vecna be sacrificing? He's already a rotting corpse fused to the Upside Down, sustained by dark power and hatred. Death would likely be a relief, an escape from his painful existence. Closing the gates wouldn't save people he cares about because he cares about no one. It wouldn't atone for his crimes because his victim count includes dozens of murdered children and his apocalyptic plans endangered all of humanity. Letting him sacrifice himself would undermine every theme the show has built across 5 seasons.